All right, it is 11 a.m. here. Thanks, Paul. We've got some, you just saw those live shots, how dramatic it is, and the worst is yet to come across our area. Now, we just got the 11 a.m. update. It's a 150 mile per hour hurricane, still a category 4, gust to 185, and it looks like it's holding steady. And there you are, 933 millibars. It's sitting 25 miles southwest of Grand Island. I just took a measurement here. It's about 13 to 13 miles just towards the southeast of Port Fourchon. So Port Fourchon doesn't pop up here, but it's right there. It's going to be 13 miles down. And remember, the center is, when it makes landfall is when the center makes its way across land. And it's not the northern eye wall, it's that part right there. So when the center of the eye moves over Port Fourchon, we will have a landfall. And that will probably happen by around noon, maybe a little bit before noon, with a category 4, 185 mile per hour winds. Those 185 mile per hour winds are going to be right in here. And that is going to just hammer Port Fourchon and heading up into Leeville, Golden Meadow. Those areas are going to see significant damage from not only the winds, but also the storm surge that's going to come in with this. Grand Isle is also going to get. And we kind of got a double eye wall thing going on here. We've got this eye, and then you've got like a secondary eye, right? So Grand Isle maybe not getting a lot of rain right now, but winds are still gusting over 100 miles per hour there. And remember, the winds are wrapping up into this thing. So this is all storm surge coming on in at this point. So the conditions are continuing to get worse down there. They're in the thick of it at this moment. Homa, it's about to kick off. New Orleans, our strong winds are moving on in, and everyone's phones in New Orleans and down south of New Orleans just went crazy with that noise. They sent an alert about the intense winds that are moving on through. And to put this in perspective, you just saw those live shots, and we're gusting to 60 miles an hour right now at the lake, and the worst of this is still a ways away from at least the worst part of the actual hurricane. Is not going to be moving in probably for another couple of hours. So it's going to steadily get worse as we go through the afternoon. And then by 2, 3 o'clock, we could be dealing with some really rough conditions in New Orleans. We could really start to deal with some rough conditions in Homa in the next hour or two. Same thing for Thibodaux. All the way through Lafourche Parish is just getting hammered by this. And that's the center of the eye that we're going to be watching. So the eye is going to travel this way. But remember, all this is coming with it. So this is what's going to be moving up towards New Orleans and the entire New Orleans metro as we go through the remainder of today. And it is not going to be in a hurry to get on out. Now it is moving, it is not stalled, it's moving northwest at 13 miles per hour, but that just means we're going to have it in our area for quite some time through the rest of today, even into tonight. So buckle up, it's coming, and it's only going to get worse through the day. Now, as we look at on the North Shore, you don't have a whole lot going on. It's a little gusty up here, but just a few showers. This will be moving up to the north later this afternoon as well, and you'll see conditions really go downhill up there. So here is the latest on all of our advisories, and I want to make sure we've got the correct storm surge information, but we're still thinking about 12 to all the way up to 16 feet of storm surge as we go into where we're looking at landfall here in southeast Louisiana. And I'm going to try to get this graphic pulled up for you so I can show you. But the storm surge is going to be at its highest over the next couple of hours down there in lower Jefferson and lower Lafourche Parish as that storm surge blows in on the eastern side of that eye wall. Now, just towards the west, as you get closer to Homa and Thibodaux, you're looking at the 8 to 12 foot storm surge across those areas. So here we go. Now I got it for you. And the lake is still expected to be about 5 to 8 feet, and that lake is already coming up. Now, what you saw there just now with our live shots from Meg and Michelle, that's pretty normal for a tropical storm. You could go out there, any tropical storm, and you're going to see water coming up there and crossing into the low-lying areas on the other side of the levee. But as it continues to go up, as we get more into that 5 to 8 feet range, it could be a little bit higher. But I think our most significant problems with storm surge in the lake are going to be on the southeast side, down towards St. John Parish, going into St. Charles Parish, and on the western side up towards Tangipahoa Parish, because our winds are funneling in this way, and they're going to continue to funnel in that way, and then eventually they'll be out of the south, so you'll be looking at more of a problem on the North Shore. So yeah, we're going to see surge rise here on New Orleans, but with this storm, we don't have a northerly component. That's why Katrina was so bad for New Orleans, because the wind field was wrapping the winds around on this side and they were pummeling down into the city. We don't have that with Ida. Ida's winds are more out of this way. They're kind of out of this, they are out of the southeast or the northeast right now going southwest. That will be switching though more to the north later on tonight. So that's why you know, the concern for storm surge in New Orleans itself on the east bank remains very, very low. Now, the west bank is going to be watching this come on up, and then this will go all the way up until it runs into our levee protection system on the west bank. Jean Lafitte, these areas could see significant storm surge rise. This morning, we did have a reporter down there embedded with them in their safety area. So maybe we can get a report from her if she's still down there, or get a phone her and see what's going on with them and see if they're seeing any storm surge come up. That would be a good source to see what exactly is happening. We know it's coming in. We just don't know how high it's gotten yet, or how far it's come into Jefferson Parish at this point. Now, the winds are continuing to be a huge problem, and they will continue to be a huge problem through the rest of today. It still seems reasonable that we could be dealing with gusts over 160 near the coast, especially for Port Fourchon and down here towards Leeville. That could be the worst of it, and even Grand Isle. Plaquemines Parish is probably closer to 130 mile-per-hour wind gusts, and then as you get inland, we're looking on, you know, high wind gusts for Houma, Thibodaux still. Over the next couple of hours, you could start to see some wind gusts approach 100, and they continue to be over 110, maybe 20, as we go through the afternoon. New Orleans, it's all about this track. If it takes this track, we will definitely see parts of the western metro get in that outer eye wall. That could produce winds over 100 miles per hour. If it jogs just a little hair to the east, that shifts that wind axis into much of New Orleans, and so it's just too close of a call. We need everyone to be preparing for over 110 mile per hour winds just in case. Now, by this afternoon and evening, it's making its way up through the river. It's up to the north, and then the worst winds will start to move into the North Shore later this afternoon and going into tonight. This isn't going to wind down anytime soon. It's only going to get worse for the rest of today. You got to be prepared and be somewhere very safe. You need to be in a sturdy structure. This is a type of hurricane that you've got to ride out just like you would ride out a tornado somewhere if you had to. You'd be in a sturdy structure. You'd be away from windows. You would be in an interior closet if it gets that bad, and just put as many rooms and walls between you and the outside to make sure you are safe from the wind. Also make sure you're safe from the water. And I do want to mention also the flooding threat. This has got every threat with it. This hurricane has the flooding, the storm surge, the wind. We've had a few tornado warnings, but that is coming to an end. That threat at least is. And what we're really concerned about are any of these bands tonight, and they could produce some significant rainfall amounts if they start to train, and these will likely train. So it will start raining. It's already started raining. It's going to continue to raining and continue to spread up over the area through the rest of today, and it's going to continue into parts of tonight. So it could be raining for the next 12 to 16 hours in some spots. That is going to start to add up quickly, and we could be ending up with 10 to maybe 15 plus inches of rain. Some models are very aggressive with this rainfall. Some have shown over 20 to 25 inches in a few spots. It's possible. It could happen somewhere, and that's why hopefully you got your car somewhere safe in New Orleans or any low-lying area, because now you're run out of time because it's too dangerous to go out in these winds, and they're going to continue to just increase across the area. So you need to be, I know we say this word a lot, maybe it's annoying, I don't know, hunker down. You need to be somewhere safe throughout the remainder of this hurricane if you did not evacuate.
And Peyton, you still think that Port Fourchon is going to be where landfall officially is noted? And
I do.
How close are we right now to Port Fourchon with the eye of that storm?
So they're getting into the eye right now, but we got to wait. The Hurricane Center, what they do for landfall is they wait for the center of the eye to make landfall. And so that's not going to happen for probably another 45 minutes or so. So you can see there, Port Fourchon is absolutely in the worst of it right now. Winds could be 185 miles an hour in Port Fourchon right now. I don't have a gauge down there. I'm going to need to try to find one, but this part right here is 10/10. There's the middle of the eye, and then that'll be moving in. It's moving at 13 miles an hour, so it's sitting about, if this is Port Fourchon, it's sitting about 13 miles off the coast, so about an hour. It would be making
is there anything that could slow this thing down and then make the rain train over us longer?
It is slowing down, and it's going to continue to slow down a little bit as it makes that turn. It's not going to stall. There's a trough coming from up north, and it's going to pick it up. But it could get down to maybe 10 miles an hour later today. That's definitely in the forecast for it to slow down, and that's just going to prolong this over our area. And this part, that big old area to the east, that just looks like a solid sheet of rain, that is going to be over our area for the next 12 hours or so, maybe even beyond that.
And that's the wet side. The east side is always the wet side of usually the wet side of the storm.
It is, and this is where the big flooding threat's going to be. The flooding threat's not going to be as high for Morgan City or Baton Rouge, I don't think. They'll still get a lot of heavy rain, but not as much as we're going to get. But the west side of a Category 4 hurricane is still just as dangerous. Winds over here could still be over 120 miles an hour. So Morgan City, Baton Rouge are still likely going to take a pretty hard hit from this.
But this one is particularly wet on that east side, though.
Yeah, generally most
Generally they are, yeah.
But
we've seen some with the west side heavier.
It is, and that has to do with a couple of other things. But yeah, you've kind of got two eye walls here. You've got an outer eye wall and that inner eye wall. And what we'll be watching in New Orleans, we're probably not going to get into that one right there, but we'll get into this western.
And for Orleans and Jefferson, I mean, the slower that thing moves through and the longer it's over us, is the worst for us for the flooding. And of course the winds, because the winds are going to knock down power lines, trees, etc.
Yeah, it's just going to be a mess out there. You absolutely, don't even have the idea of getting on the road later today. Of course, we're not leaving the station. We're all staying here even when we're off air. You got to hunker down where you're at. You got to stay there because it could be too dangerous to get out on the roads. There may be power lines, things like that. There may be trees. You don't want a tree to fall on you when you're driving. We've heard of tragedies that happen when people get out and a tree falls on their car while they're driving. We got a lot of big trees here, so it's just a good idea to stay put for the time.
When do you think the winds will start subsiding here in the metro area?
Below tropical storm force?
Yes.
Not until tomorrow afternoon. Maybe.
Okay. And then
we've got about 24 more hours of winds like what we've got out there right now.
And Peyton, we are less than an hour from it making landfall. I thought the track would be pretty much set by now, but so it's interesting to hear.
I mean, it's set. I mean, it's not going to make any crazy jog to Lafayette or anything, but it's going to wobble, and it may wobble around 10 miles or so.
Okay.
And these are minor. These seem minor, and they are, but the distance of how the winds decrease from a hurricane very quickly, the most intense part of the winds. Now, the tropical storm force winds extend pretty far out, but those intense 150, 185 mile per hour wind gusts are very in a confined area. So that matters when you're trying to decide how close you're going to get to that. And that's why we're watching it and seeing how close it's going to get into the New Orleans metro, how much of the river parishes are going to take the hit, and of course how much Houma and Thibodaux are going to take the hit. They're going to take most of the hit, it looks like.